Welcome to Cardano for Everyone, a podcast series from Pasta Steak Pool. Each episode explores something new about Cardano in a way that's simple and accessible for everyone. In the mood for some Cardano magic? Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome back, ready for another deep dive. Today we're going way back to the early days of Charles Hoskinson, the Cardano guy. But we're not focusing on all the crypto stuff this time. We're going all the way back to his childhood, his family, his early interests. His parents really encouraged him to explore how things worked. And it wasn't just computers either. Apparently, he was fascinated by patterns in nature too.
Interesting. So he was already drawn to patterns and structures from a young age?
Seems like it. Figuring out how a machine worked or looking at the patterns in a seashell. And the sources we have actually highlight that he was always pushing beyond what was required in his studies.
Really?
Yeah, they say he impressed his professors with his innovative solutions to complex problems. But here's something I found interesting. He was involved with Ron Paul's 2008 presidential campaign. It turns out his interest in blockchain wasn't just about the tech. It was deeply connected to his ideas about economics and reforming the financial system.
So he was already thinking about the bigger picture.
It seems like it. He was drawn to Ron Paul's libertarian views, individual freedom, limited government, and we're going to be exploring the life of Charles Hoskinson.
Well, a good place to start is with his birth. Charles Hoskinson was born on November 5th, 1987, in Hawaii.
Hawaii. That's not the typical setting you think of when you think crypto genius.
Right, you think Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
some kind of bustling tech hub. But Hoskinson's story begins on a beautiful island in the Pacific. And here's another interesting detail. He comes from a family of physicians. So from a young age, he was exposed to this world of science, problem-solving, analytical thinking.
It seems like a world away from the world of cryptography and blockchain.
It might seem that way on the surface, but, there are some interesting parallels. It's all about understanding these complex systems, diagnosing problems, and finding solutions. And those skills, they translate surprisingly well to the world of technology.
That laid the groundwork for his later pursuits.
And you can see this, his natural talent in math and science kind of blossomed early on. We're talking science fairs, math competitions, the kind of things that might sound familiar to a lot of our listener.
Everyone remembers those things. Some good memories, some maybe not so good memories. It is interesting to think that someone like Hoskinson, who's now a leading figure in blockchain, so this passion for math, where did it lead him?
So he began his formal math studies at Metropolitan State University of Denver, and later transferred to the University of Colorado Boulder, where he specialized in a field called analytic number theory.
Now, for those of us who aren't mathematicians, what exactly does that involve?
So it's a branch of number theory that uses tools from mathematical analysis to study the properties of integers, which are essentially whole numbers.
Sounds pretty complex.
It is, but it's all about rigor, logic, and proof, you see. And these are essential tools when you're building something as intricate as a blockchain. Interestingly enough, Hoskinson didn't actually complete his PhD program.
But even without the formal degree, that deep dive into advanced mathematics must have shaped his thinking.
Absolutely. Honed his analytical abilities, capacity for abstract reasoning, and his attention to detail. All crucial skills that would later serve him well in the world of blockchain.
But his interests weren't confined to the realm of pure mathematics, right?
He was always interested in the broader applications of math, how it intersected with other fields like cryptography, economics, computer science.
That's key, right? Because blockchain itself sits at the intersection of all those disciplines. It's not just about code, it's about economics, security, creating entirely new systems.
Hoskinson was particularly drawn to a school of economic thought called Austrian economics.
For our listeners who aren't familiar with that, can you give us a quick overview?
Yeah, so Austrian economics emphasizes individual liberty, free markets, and limited government intervention. It's often seen as contrasting with more mainstream Keynesian economics, which advocates for a greater role of government in managing the economy.
So we're already seeing some themes emerge here that align with the core principles of blockchain, decentralization, individual empowerment, limited government control.
And it's not just theoretical interest either. This is around 2008, a time of great economic upheaval. Financial crisis was unfolding, and there was this growing sense of disillusionment with traditional systems.
So it's like the world was primed for a paradigm shift, and Hoskinson was already thinking about alternative models.
And he wasn't just thinking about them, he was actively engaging with them. He joined Ron Paul's presidential campaign, attracted to its libertarian ideals.
That's a pretty bold move for someone immersed in the world of academia.
It shows that, he wasn't content with just studying these ideas. He wanted to see them put into practice in the real world. It was a way for him to connect his intellectual pursuits to real-world issues, particularly those surrounding monetary policy.
So we're starting to see a shift from theory to action.
Exactly. He's not just a scholar, he's someone who wants to make a difference, change the world. And it's worth noting that even during this period of intense intellectual and political engagement, he still found time for hobbies.
Hobbies. What did a future crypto architect do for fun?
Well, he was an avid chess player.
Oh, chess. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right? Strategy, logic, thinking ahead.
Yeah, he had this amazing foundation, right, in mathematics, economics, this passion for decentralized systems. But the question was, where would he apply all this knowledge?
And this is where the story takes this turn towards cryptocurrency.
So it's 2011, and Bitcoin is, still in its very early stages. But Hoskinson, he sees the potential of this revolutionary technology.
I bet it was so exciting, to be there at the very beginning, witnessing the birth of something that would go on to disrupt the entire financial system.
And Hoskinson, he wasn't content with just observing from the sidelines. He dove headfirst into the Bitcoin community, educating himself and others about its potential.
So he was spreading the word, about Bitcoin before it even hit the mainstream.
He was one of the early evangelists, recognizing the power of decentralized digital currency, long before most people had even heard of it.
What was it about Bitcoin that captivated him so much?
I think it was the elegance of the solution. Bitcoin addressed this fundamental problem, the need for a trustless and decentralized system for exchanging value. It was this brilliant fusion of cryptography, computer science, and economics.
It sounds like it aligned perfectly with his beliefs in individual liberty and free markets.
Bitcoin was the embodiment of those principles in technological form, but as he delved deeper into the world of Bitcoin, he started to see its limitations.
What kind of limitations?
Well, Bitcoin was primarily designed as a digital currency, right? It wasn't well suited for more complex applications like smart contracts or decentralized applications.
So where did he go from there?
Well, this led him to one of his most significant early ventures, Ethereum.
Ethereum. Now, that's a name everyone in the crypto space knows. How did Hoskinson get involved with its creation?
He was one of the 8 co-founders, joining forces with Vitalik Buterin and others who shared this vision for a more versatile and programmable blockchain platform.
It's amazing to think that these individuals, working together in those early days, essentially laid the groundwork for the entire decentralized application ecosystem that we see today.
Yeah, it was a pivotal moment in crypto history, and Hoskinson played this crucial role. His focus was on the development and implementation of Ethereum's governance structure.
Governance. Why was that such a focus for him?
Well, remember his background in Austrian economics, his experience with the Ron Paul campaign. He believed that for a decentralized platform like Ethereum to truly thrive in the long term, it needed a robust and transparent governance mechanism.
It's like he was applying his understanding of political and economic systems to the world of blockchain.
Precisely. He understood that code alone wasn't enough, right? A truly decentralized system, it needed rules, it needed procedures, and a way for stakeholders to participate in its evolution.
That's incredibly forward-thinking. So he was right there at the heart of Ethereum, shaping its future. Why did he eventually leave the project?
Well, this is where the story takes another interesting turn. You see, there were disagreements within the founding team about the direction Ethereum should take.
Oh, the classic founder clash. It happens even in the world of crypto.
In this case, Hoskinson was a strong advocate for a more formal and structured approach to governance.
But then he leaves Ethereum in 2014. Why? What happened?
Well, like any big project, there are going to be disagreements, especially among founders. Hoskinson had strong ideas about how Ethereum should be developed, especially the governance, the funding model. He really wanted a more formal, research-based approach. Ultimately, those differences led to him leaving.
Man, those early Ethereum days must have been intense. So what were the big issues, the sticking points that led to this split? Was it all technical, or was there something more fundamental going on?
It was a mix, but a big one was proof of work. It's how they secured the network, but it requires a ton of computing power, which means high energy use. Hoskinson was already thinking about scalability, the environmental impact even back then.
So he was already thinking about mass adoption, way ahead of the curve. He must have had a different vision in mind already.
He did, and that's where IOHK comes in, Input-Output Hong Kong. The goal was to build blockchains the right way, based on real academic research, peer-reviewed stuff. It was a total shift from the move fast, break things attitude a lot of crypto had at the time.
But what was the specific problem he wanted to solve, the thing he couldn't do with an Ethereum?
Cardano was his answer to the limitations he saw everywhere else. He wanted to tackle three big things head-on: scalability, interoperability, sustainability.
Okay, break this down for me a little.
Imagine a global digital highway. Scalability means that highway can handle tons of traffic without getting jammed up. Interoperability is like having seamless connections to other highways, other transportation systems. And sustainability means that highway is built to last, it doesn't fall apart under pressure. And it's all built on that foundation of academic research he always believed in. It all comes full circle.
I can see how his math background, his love of education, that all plays into this. But there's another piece of the puzzle we haven't talked about yet. His relationship with Ethereum. It wasn't exactly a clean break, was it?
No, not really. Remember those disagreements about Ethereum that led him to leave? There's been some rivalry, some back and forth, even a little bit of drama, you could say.
Drama. I knew there had to be some juicy bits in this story. What kind of stuff have they been sparring about?
Well, a big one has been, remember how Hoskinson wasn't happy with Ethereum using proof of work because of all the energy it used?
Yeah.
Well, when Ethereum finally switched to proof of stake in 2022, years after Cardano had already done it, there were some, let's just say, spirited discussions about who was really leading the way in blockchain.
Sounds like a bit of a told you so moment.
Beyond just the technical stuff, there's also been a clash of philosophies between the two projects. Ethereum, with all its applications, its move fast and break things attitude, it's sometimes seen as the more practical, market-driven platform. Cardano, with all the research, the slower, more deliberate approach, it's often seen as the more idealistic one, the academic one.
But this rivalry, this back and forth, hasn't it been good in a way?
Well, it ultimately led to his departure from Ethereum in 2014. But this wasn't the end of his journey. In fact, it was just the beginning.
So what did he do next? This is where Cardano comes into the picture, right?
There's one more chapter in Hoskinson's story that's worth exploring. His founding of IOHK.
IOHK, what's that all about?
So IOHK stands for Input-Output Hong Kong. It's a technology company that specializes in peer-reviewed blockchain research and development.
So he was taking a more academic and research-driven approach to blockchain.
This was a deliberate choice. Hoskinson believed that the crypto space needed a solid foundation in scientific rigor and peer-reviewed research to truly reach its potential.
So it wasn't just about building the next big cryptocurrency. It was about advancing the entire field of blockchain technology.
He saw the need for a more thoughtful and methodical approach, one that was grounded in solid scientific principles.
And IOHK was essentially the launchpad for Cardano.
With IOHK, he assembled this team of leading academics, cryptographers, and engineers to create a blockchain platform that would address the limitations he saw in existing systems, including Bitcoin and Ethereum.
It's like he took everything he had learned from his diverse experiences and poured it into Cardano.
In a way, yes. Cardano was envisioned as a third-generation blockchain platform designed to be more scalable, secure, and sustainable than its predecessors.
The culmination of all the lessons learned from Bitcoin and Ethereum.
And at the heart of Cardano's design philosophy was this deep commitment to scientific rigor and peer-reviewed research.
That's a theme that we've seen throughout his life. It's been quite a journey, that's for sure, from his love of math to how Cardano's governance works, even a little blockchain drama along the way. So what's the big takeaway? What have we learned from all this?
I think the most important thing is that blockchain isn't just about code and algorithms. It's about people, their visions, their disagreements, all their work together to build something new, something that could change everything. Hoskinson's story is a perfect example of that.
It shows that technology isn't neutral. It's shaped by the people who create it, by what they believe in. So help me zoom out here. What are we really talking about? What kind of future is Cardano trying to build?
Cardano wants to make a financial system that's inclusive, where everyone has a fair shot, especially people and communities that have been left behind by the traditional financial system. And you know where Cardano is making a real difference? Developing countries, places where a lot of people don't even have basic financial services. They've got projects in Africa, for example, providing digital identity solutions, making microlending easier.
It's all about building a better future, a more equitable one, a more sustainable one. And that's why how Cardano handles governance is so important.
But one thing's certain. Looking at Charles Hoskinson's journey, how he went from being a math student to a blockchain pioneer to leading the charge with Cardano, it shows you just how powerful ideas can be. And it shows you how technology really can be a force for good, maybe even build a better world.
And that, listeners, brings us to the end of our deep dive into Charles Hoskinson and Cardano. It's been quite the journey. We started with Hoskinson back in the early days of Bitcoin, saw his contributions to Ethereum, and now here we are, talking about his own platform, Cardano, and how strongly he believes in building a better future with decentralized systems. It's not just tech specs about blockchain. It's a story about someone using technology to try to make a real difference. So I want to ask you, our listeners, what really stood out to you about Charles Hoskinson's journey? Was it that unshakable belief in decentralization, his dedication to research, to doing things the right way, or maybe it was his vision for a financial system that works for everyone?
But there's no doubt that Charles Hoskinson's story, from math student to blockchain pioneer to leading the development of Cardano, it's a story about the power of ideas and how technology can be a force for good, maybe even help build a better world.
And with that, dear listeners, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of Charles Hoskinson and Cardano. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Thank you for being part of Cardano for Everyone. We hope you gained something valuable from today's episode. If you'd like to support our mission of making Cardano knowledge accessible for all, consider selecting Pasta from the pool list when you delegate. Every bit of support helps us bring more content to listeners like you. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll see you on the next episode.